Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm reviewing a 17.3 inch 144 Hz portable monitor from UPERFECT. I've reviewed portable monitors in the past, but those have all been 60 Hz, so I'm excited to see how the 144 Hz with this one performs. As always, I'll get into the specs first before covering what I like, don't like, and the gray area before wrapping the video up. So let's hop in. The model number here is M173J04, and this is a 17.3 inch IPS panel screen with a 1080p resolution and a 144 Hz refresh rate. This covers 100% of the sRGB color gamut and 72% of the NTSC color gamut. The max brightness is 300 candelas per square meters or nits with a 1000:1 contrast ratio. For ports, you have two USB Type-C 3.1, you have one HDMI 2.0, one micro USB port that's on the go and allows two USB devices to talk to each other without requiring the service of a personal computer. And then there's a headphone jack input, and you have speakers on the left and right hand side that are 8 ohms at 1 watt. Inside of the box, you get the portable monitor, power adapter, smart cover, HDMI to HDMI cable, USB-C to USB-C cable, USB-A to USB-C cable, and the user manual. On the left-hand side, you will find the power button and menu buttons, which are a bit tricky to use, but they get the job done. And let's go ahead and take a look at the menu while we're here now and showcase everything that you will find in that. Okay, so we have the menu pulled up right here. This is the first tab that you will find, the brightness levels here. You cannot access the brightness and the contrast outside of standard mode. So with this, you have brightness, contrast, eco, dynamic contrast ratio, and then HDR mode. Changing the eco here to the different presets, movie, text, standard, game. If you change it again outside of standard, you cannot adjust the brightness or the contrast. Same thing applies if you turn on the HDR mode, so do keep that in mind. Which I'm going to actually turn that off. You have three different things with this. You have off, 2084, and auto. Notice how it changes when you go to 2084 there. I haven't used that one. For the PlayStation 5, this will be on auto, so keep that in mind. I do use HDR with that. Next, you have image, which has the aspect ratio. After that, you have color temperature with this, and you can change this. You cannot access that, though, unless it's in standard mode. So when you're trying to adjust this, you have to have it in standard mode if you want to make any adjustments to the color temperature or the brightness and the contrast. Keep that in mind. And so I turned off HDR, also notice that, so that I have these adjustments to the brightness and the contrast. And now I get to go back and adjust the color temperature. And with that, you have user, where you can adjust the red, green, and blue. You can change it to cool or warm. After that, the next tab below this is the OSD adjustments, so the on-screen display adjustments, which is the thing that we're actually looking at. Language, and then the position and how transparent it is. You can reset everything after that if you're having trouble. And then the bottom here, we have the signal source, so HDMI, USB Type-C, anything like that. You can mute this, you can adjust the volume. This is at volume 5, and then you can turn on or off FreeSync, and that is off by default. Next, let's go ahead and actually test out these speakers, and the only adjustments in post I'm going to do are to the gain levels to make sure that it sounds very comparable to what it sounds like in person when you guys are watching this video.
Covenant has control of the bridge ahead. They're going to try and bottle us up on this side of the gorge. Controls to extend the bridge should be in this structure.
The last thing I want to cover on kind of the spec side of things is just to showcase the stand case, which is magnetic, and the setup here is also lined out in the user manual, but you'll want to use this in a specific way so the monitor doesn't easily slide off of the stand here. If you don't want to use this, a cool feature this does have is a 75 by 75 millimeter VESA mount pattern. You would use an M4 screw with that, with the openings on the back, so you can actually mount this to an arm if you wanted to and use it as a second monitor for your PC. The list price for this, by the way, is normally $299. On Amazon right now, it's discounted to $229 with a $15 off coupon. I do not know how long those will be around, but if you do take advantage of that, you can get this for close to $200, which is a really solid price point. Moving on, let's talk about what I like about this monitor while I showcase some various uses I tested on it. And that brings me to the first point here, which is this is quite versatile in terms of connection options. So you can use UPERFECT's Lightning to HDMI cable converter, which is actually sold separately, but it's definitely worth it to connect an iPhone to this. And now the Google Doc you've been working on crammed onto that screen, or maybe you're doing some content creation or you're playing games, it's actually blown up to fit this bigger screen as long as the app or content can be moved into that 16:9 aspect ratio. Otherwise, this is going to be a large waste of screen space if it's just in that vertical orientation, because it's just going to mimic the size that's on the phone screen vertically. Keep in mind this is a 1080p screen, so the resolution is going to take a little bit of a hit here when you're comparing it to your phone. It's a little bit more noticeable with documents and small text, but it's not that big of a deal with video content. Using this with handheld devices like the One X Player 2 means you get to increase the screen real estate, but also increase this from the 60 Hz screen that you find on most of these handhelds up to the 144 Hz. Now, the device is powerful enough to get some games to run in the 80s or 90s, but graphically demanding games probably won't get much higher than 60 frames per second. Keep that in mind. We have more handhelds coming out, so that's only going to get better. But older games or retro style games, they actually thrive on this thing and look incredibly smooth at the 144 Hz. It's also just nice getting that larger screen real estate because these are Windows-based devices outside of the Steam Deck. So with this, you get to use it like a normal PC. And essentially now the combo here has made this into a really good laptop. So I get to work on documents or anything like that that I wouldn't be able to do on just the handheld screen. And so it has more versatility options when running it with the handheld now, because that is limiting me in some regards. Again, if I'm trying to do content creation or work on documents or anything like that, the screen is just too small. I blow that up. I really get to take advantage of the powerful hardware that these handhelds have. The thing I was really blown away by though with this was running the PlayStation 5 and really just consoles in general, but just talking specifically about the PlayStation 5 right now. I thought 1080p here would look similar to the iPhone or the One X Player 2, with it feeling like a hit in the resolution department, but this didn't look like it took a hit at all. In fact, it actually looks more like it's running 1440p than 1080p, which is incredible. Playing Horizon Forbidden West was a blast, and graphically it was stunning on this screen with no loss in graphical fidelity or smoothness. So this is still running at that 120 Hz, and it just looks incredible on this. Very, very surprised here, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest draws. Anybody that travels and they do want to bring their console with them, but they want something that can get that 120 Hz so they're not stuck at 60 Hz on a regular TV, for instance, this is going to be a great option. It also just condenses everything also, right? So you can run this with this smaller screen, and it's kind of compact as just the both of these together, right? The complete package there of you basically are bringing a very portable monitor that's not as big as a PC monitor, but you're still getting 144 Hz out of it, and you bring your console, and now you're kind of taken care of in these situations where you're traveling and you still want a game. So again, the versatility here is going to be the biggest draw for most people. You want an extra screen for your laptop, you can use this. You want to use it with a console and you're going to travel around, you can use it with that. And it's going to look great on the consoles. You have a handheld and you want to have a bigger screen. Again, you're traveling, but you still want to play on something that's bigger or jump up from the 60 Hz that has up to the 144 Hz. You can do that. You can pair your phone with this, especially if you're not using a Lightning port. Maybe you just have an Android based phone and you're just going to use the USB Type-C input. You can do that. An extreme amount of versatility here. Yeah, it's 1080p, but again, with consoles, it even looks like it's 1440p. It looks even better, but you have the 144 Hz, you have the large screen size. The speakers aren't bad. They're actually decent on this. They're not going to sound incredible because again, they're just jamming so much into this thinner size, but they sound decent. They would definitely be adequate with that. So much upside with this. It is a very solid product. Moving on though, let's talk about what I don't like about this product. I only have one thing, and it is the inputs for the menu. They're just harder to use. I definitely think there could be a better option here when it comes to either the layout or what the button is being used for. You can adapt to it. It's just confusing. I think a more simplistic approach to this would be a big upgrade on that end. But the good news is that's really the only negative that I have in regards to this product. Everything else is going to be a gray area thing. So these are things you may or may not care about in regards to this. And so the first one here is going to be there is no battery, right? So they do have some that have an internal battery, and with that you can charge it up and then you can still use it. With this, you have to constantly keep it plugged in order to actually get power. But that means more cables on the desk or wherever you're putting this. It's more cables that you're going to have to keep around. You power this via the USB Type-C input. And that's something where if you do want something more portable, you're going to want to look for another option. It just depends on your needs. The next thing here is going to be the matte finish on the screen. It's going to pick up a lot of fingerprints. Any screen that you touch is going to do that. So this is where it's kind of a gray area thing, but because the bezels on this are so thin, you end up touching the screen, and so you're going to start noticing your fingerprints on this, and it can be a minor annoyance. It's easy to clean off, not a big deal, but just keep in mind you're probably going to get a lot of fingerprints on this, and you're probably going to need to clean this somewhat often. And last is going to be the lack of a screen protector. You can find some online that will actually fit this. I wish it would come with it, a tempered glass one, just because you're paying a good amount of money for this and you want to make sure that the screen is protected, because if this thing takes a hit and it breaks, then it's done with, right? You're going to have to just get a new one. So having that screen protector with the product would just be an easier package. And I think a lot of people would be willing to pay more if it came with that, just because they know their investment is somewhat protected. Well, that's going to wrap this video up. If you guys have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section and I will be sure to answer that for you there. I will have a link for this in the description if you want to pick this up. And then the other items that I talked about in this, like the lightning port to HDMI input, if you want to get one of those, if you're going to use this with an iPhone. If you like the video, hit the like button for me as it helps the channel out. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, like the upcoming review of another UPERFECT portable monitor that I have, that one is 15.6 inches. It's 2K. So we have the increase in resolution, and it's 120 hertz. So this is another good option for the gamers out there. You're going to want to hit that subscribe button so you can get notified when that video comes out. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.